NFR.
NFR Extra is a podcast dedicated to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons and personalities that embody the Western lifestyle.
You know, having now lived in Las Vegas, 14 years, and I got my two kids were born here. You know, you kind of know people in town, and again, like I moved here from the East Coast, didn't really know much about the rodeo or cowboy lifestyle. It wasn't something that I was raised with, but you learn about it when you're here, and so now it's a big part of Las Vegas. It's a fun time. I've been to the rodeo. It's a fun time, especially with our location being literally across the street from Cowboy Christmas. It just sort of makes sense. But, you know,
you're getting the experience.
It's the place that you want to go if you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Hey, everybody, this is Steve Godert, and you're listening to the NFR Extra.
I'm going to be completely candid with you, Fedor. When I hear the words Fountainebleau, I don't think of myself in a cowboy hat, boots, and spurs. I think of my beautiful wife, who is a lot more stylish, put together. You know, I think of her. So how do you take your property and kind of make it for the everyman, if that makes sense?
Well, we are a 3,600 room resort. So we're a luxury resort. So we tend to appeal to the higher end of things, but
Okay.
We do have 3,600 rooms, right? And so our standard rooms, although beautiful, are standard rooms. So we have to be open to all, right?
Sure.
And prior to coming to Las Vegas back in 2010, I really didn't know much about the rodeo or things of that nature. And in my previous resort, we kind of opened without. A lot of the people that were involved in that resort were East Coasters. I was an East Coaster.
Okay.
And so, not saying that stereotypically people on the East Coast don't know about the rodeo, but I just didn't know about it. And the people that I was working with didn't know about it either.
Yes, sir.
And so we kind of made it, 6 years in without ever doing any rodeo. Right. And we would, back then I did a couple Willie Nelson shows. I did a bunch of Zach Brown shows. There was some stuff that I dabbled in, but didn't really focus on that. But, I learned about the rodeo when I was here, right? And so after learning about it, when we were opening up this resort, and this resort is really close to Cowboy Christmas, right?
Yes, it is.
I felt like if I could do the same trajectory that we were doing, at the previous place. And 3 to 4 or 5 years later, we would develop a crowd. And once we developed the crowd, that will kind of settle in, right? So I would like to take the opportunity in this initial period where we, for argument's sake, don't have a crowd, right? Because we're developing one, and try to focus on that crowd, try to focus on the country crowd and ingratiate ourselves to them because, we're starting something new. And if it sticks, it sticks, right? And that's something that I didn't do at the other place. I'm not trying to focus on the other place, but just so you understand what happened. Right. Midway through the cycle of that place, we had a new president, Bill Macbeth, who's a big supporter of the rodeo, big supporter of the cowboy lifestyle, has a ranch, so I learned a lot about rodeo from him. He was the one who created the, Mirage, the Mirage, things that happened at the Mirage, right? That was him, and we talked about how he did that and why he did that, and there was some reasons why he did that, and so he wanted to do it at the Cosmopolitan. But by the time he wanted to do it, we were already at 99% filled. So if you will go ahead and put one cowboy in, you have to take another person out. So it didn't really make sense, right? You're already full, you're just trying to change the crowd. So we tried it for a couple of years, and then he was like, yeah, it's not going to work. And I was like, yeah, exactly. So that I tried to take that, right, that experience and say, okay, I feel confident that this place will succeed. The the Fontainebleau is amazing. It's beautiful. Everybody that comes through here loves it. There's a perception, Andy, like you said, that it's glamorous, right? So I have no doubt that 10 years from now, there'll be a crowd here, right? That's settled. But I didn't want to make the same mistake that I made there, because now I'm kind of going on a long-winded run. But if you look at the Wynn and some of the other places, there is an extremely high-end cowboy crowd that exists in this town over the rodeo.
Yes, sir.
And we are, our goal is to appeal to the highest end part of the luxury market, and that includes that crowd. And so, this is our effort in trying to ingratiate ourselves to that.
What does that look like? What type of things are you implementing to achieve that crowd?
Well, number one, we're going straight to country over this period of time, right? So we made a deal with Thomas Rhett. So he's playing first 2 weekends, both Fridays and Saturdays. That was one of the first bookings that we did prior to us even opening, right? So we went straight for that. We have our I Heart the Bull program that we're doing with the Bull in a lounge called Nowhere Lounge. So Nowhere Lounge is I should probably back up. Our resort, Fountainebleau, obviously is connected to the one in Miami. The one in Miami has a storied history of entertainment, kind of from the Rack Pack era. There's a lot of history there, and sort of one of the things that they have there is a Stairway to Nowhere, which is quite famous. It was built in the 50s, and it's a stairway that literally goes to nowhere. You can walk up the stairway and come down the stairway. And so in the 50s, debutantes would come out in their ball gown dresses, and it was like a thing, right? So over here we have a Nowhere Lounge, right? There's a lot of, we have a poodle room. There was a poodle room there. There's a bunch of like naming nomenclatures that match, right? But the Nowhere Lounge here, what we did when we opened is we turned it into a jazz club, and in the evening, 7 days a week, from call it, 7, 8 to like midnight to 1 in the morning, depending on the day of the week, we have jazz, and it's very popular, right? It's a very luxe atmosphere, and it's open to the public. It's free. There's no cover. It's a cocktail bar with like high-end jazz, right? But on the rodeo, we decided, why don't we kind of flip it and work with the Bull to curate some acts that are country, and we have a whole series of artists that are going to be coming through there at 10:30, which is a little bit after when the rodeo ends, to see if we can, maybe not necessarily do what the Mirage did, but to try to do that. And then we also have I knew Bo and the people at the rodeo that I met, from my previous gig, and I had this same conversation with them, right around when we opened, that I'm basically having with you. And I was saying, look, we got one shot. If we want to try to focus our efforts on trying to, go after the rodeo crowd and present our property to them now, I'd like to work with you guys to do that. And so, there's a couple of sponsorship and partnership activations that we're doing with the Rodeo Direct. So that's essentially what we're trying to do in a nutshell. And hopefully we succeed, because I think that as a resort, it's a beautiful resort. Everybody that comes here, I haven't met one person that comes here that says they don't like it once they come and see it. It's right. New, it's fresh, it's got great food and beverage outlets. It's sort of very modern, but while at the same time being classy. It kind of has a timeless sort of style, right? And I think that in a city that celebrates the new, we're probably going to be one of the only new casinos for a while, right? So, I think people will enjoy it when they come and see it.
You had me at food and beverage. What does...
Not to mention we have 2 steakhouses.
Okay. There you go. Now
keep it up.
Yeah,
keep it up.
That's kind of the direction.
Not to mention we have 2 steakhouses.
That's the path I was wanting to go down. What do those look like? So
we have 2 amazing steakhouses. One, Don's Prime. So our owner, Jeffrey Sofer, his father's name is Don Sofer. And obviously Don's Prime is an ode to him. It's a classic steakhouse. We have an arrangement with some farms that provide beef specifically to us. We're one of the only places, I think we're the only place in Vegas that does that or has it. They were buying specific cows 2 years prior to us opening.
Wow.
So we have like our own herd where that happens.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's become a local favorite. So think about your classic steakhouse with like a modern twist, right? And then we have Poppy Steak, which is as Miami as it gets. Super high end, expensive, celebratory type place. DJ vibe dining with Poppy, who's a character unto himself. He's an Instagram influencer of sorts. So very famous in the music scene. Became famous because he used to do outdoor grilling with a lot of popular musicians like Drake and people of that nature, and turned it into a restaurant not that long ago. And it's probably the most popular restaurant in at least from a money aspect in the resort. The kind of place where you go and just celebrate a big win or a graduation or a bachelorette party. You basically order they have this giant 55-ounce tomahawk steak, Wagyu beef, and they bring it in on a case. It's a gold case. It's supposed to be somewhat similar to the case in the gold case in what's it called, Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they bring out the gold case. There's like 30 people that surround the table. There's an entire light show. You get to pick a song. They brand the steak in front of you. I mean, it's quite the experience. And then they go make it. And they do that with a live king crab. They do that with a giant baked Alaska. So you can imagine the steak's like $1,500, and you'll go in there and there's like this foghorn that goes off when somebody orders it.
Oh, wow.
You hear it like 50 times a night. So, and everybody,
Wow.
and one person orders it, and then the whole show happens around them, and then another group goes, "I want that," and then it keeps going, if you know what I mean.
That's wild.
And
That's wild.
It's wild. It's wild in a good way. It's
Yeah.
Probably not the place you want to go on for a two-top on a date, right? To have a romantic conversation, but
You're getting the experience.
it's the place that you want to go if you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've got the Nowhere Lounge. What other kind of lounge settings do you have in there?
So we have Nowhere Lounge, which is the jazz place that we talked about, open up 7 days a week. We've got the Blue Bar, which is our beautiful center bar. It has giant crystal chandelier. Our logo is bow ties, and if you look at it, all the crystals are bow tie shaped. It's in the center of the resort. So amazing place. We have Azul, which is a tequila lounge. So we don't only serve tequila, but it's a mezcal tequila. We have Collins. So we have Collins, which is it's a bar that's near our lobby, but it's enclosed. I wouldn't call it a lobby bar. It just happens to be close to the hotel lobby. And we have a pianist that plays there every day, 5 to close, playing contemporary hits. Kind of cool. Like sometimes, depending on the player that's there, there's one specific guy. He if you listen to him playing piano, it sounds like he's playing contemporary classical music, right? So it's backgroundish. But then if you really pay attention, and he's playing like Drake.
Holy cow.
That's awesome.
So like it's kind of two ways. Like for one way, it's sort of like just classical music, and you're like, okay, whatever. And another way, it's like kind of hip and contemporary. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, I wanted to kind of point something out, because he mentioned this property being different and niche away from the rodeo world, but obviously it's not just dollars you're chasing. You're also chasing an environment. So
Correct.
have you had some conversations with different people to kind of help you with this customer base, and who kind of inspired this for you guys?
Well, I mean, we're working directly with the rodeo, with Bo from the Las Vegas events.
Yes, sir.
Put together the rodeo, and then we're working with the PRCA, and so there's a number of individuals that we're working with directly at the rodeo as a sponsor. But I think, having now lived in Las Vegas, 14 years, and I got my 2 kids were born here. You kind of know people in town, and again, like I moved here from the East Coast, didn't really know much about the rodeo or cowboy lifestyle. Wasn't something that I was raised with, but you learn about it when you're here, and so now the people that I'm working with, same thing goes for them. So I think we're trying it. It's a big part of Las Vegas. It's a fun time. I've been to the rodeo. It's a fun time. And I think, especially with our location being literally across the street from Cowboy Christmas, it just sort of makes sense.
Right.
Let's take a quick pause and we'll be right back. Looking for NFR video content and features? It's all in one place at /Las Vegas NFR. You'll find unique features like the top 35 most memorable moments since 1985, the top 60 NFR contestants of all time, NFR champions recaps, custom NFR videos, and much more. You'll also find NFR performance recaps, insider tips, and interviews you might have missed along the way. Once you dive in, you'll find a lot more great content. There's something for all rodeo fans. The biggest stage, the brightest lights, the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.
What you've got the post rodeo pretty well covered, it sounds like. What about during the rodeo? Are you going to have viewing options there at the casino?
So we have a tavern, which is our restaurant and sports book. So we will be showing the rodeo there every day with the live stream, and it's a pretty amazing facility. It's got, obviously as a sports book, it's got wall to wall screens, but the restaurant, which is technically separate, they're 2 separate entities, right, or 2 separate businesses, but they share a common space. So if you want to go directly into the sports book, there's an entrance that you just walk straight into the sports book, and you're in a beautiful sports book. I don't know if you guys are into mid-century furniture, but there's a famous Eames chair, which looks like most people, when they see it, they recognize it. It was designed after a catcher's mitt, right? And they're pretty expensive chairs. There's like 100 of them in there, so you could just sit down and have an amazing experience just in the sports book, right? But then the restaurant is like next to it and shares window space with it. So if you want to eat, have a meal, you can sit and have a full restaurant experience, also watching those screens.
Nice.
And then
Nice.
The restaurant itself has a plethora of like TVs all over the place. But it doesn't have, and it does, in a good way, it doesn't have the typical like sports bar vibe, right? It's like very high end, but not in an off-putting way, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So with you being newer to rodeo, what was your first impression the first time you went to the Thomas and Mack and watched the NFR?
When I went personally,
Yes.
I was completely surprised by the fact that, well, number one, the excitement, right? How people were into it, which was exciting for me. And the energy that you felt in the arena, right? Because it's a different, if you're not familiar with the activities, right?
Yes.
To be there and see all these fans around it and watching it and understand, trying to learn about it. So that was number one. The other two, being in the music business or in the entertainment industry, what I was surprised about was that the music that was being played around was basically, arena music, the same as you'd hear everywhere else.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the old.
And it was exciting, yeah. But then every now and then they would play a George Strait song that I didn't know, and everybody would get up and everybody would do the do and sit down, like, okay, all right.
Yeah. And you lost me. Yeah. No, that's
what I'm talking about, right? With those
we know.
Get up and spin
We
around.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they do a wonderful job there. And like you said, the enthusiasm, it's kind of hard not to go to a place that has that much electricity and to not feel it. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of go there, even if you're in a sad mood, it's like, all right, I'm feeling quite a bit better. But you get that, I mean, that intense of a showcase, you know, where there's so much on the line, and it is, you know, each night is kind of like, you know, you're following the story of on the rodeo side of it, to where it's like, oh my gosh. So each night you have a build up on that. You know, they'll kind of tell you what happened on the nights leading up to it. But so you got a story to follow, but also you've got the energy and the music to where it's not just something to where somebody that from the East Coast or from another country, you know, that doesn't know anything about rodeo can show up and be like, oh, you know, it's pretty easy to jump in to where, like, if I watched cricket, I'd be like, I still have no idea what's going on here. I mean,
I would exactly. That's a good example because cricket is so long
right.
and involved, right? That you're like, what happened, right?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
but it would be more like if you were probably at a World Cup soccer game and you weren't necessarily a soccer fan,
right?
Just because the crowd is so into it,
yeah,
yes,
that you can't help but be into it,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Well, and we take it for granted because we've grown up in it and continue to work in this industry. But last year, my sister-in-law and her husband, they went to round 9. So their first rodeo ever was round 9 of the National Finals Rodeo. So it's like,
really?
Yeah, it's like game 7 of the World Series. Here's a ticket to your first baseball game.
Are they rodeo fans?
Now they are, you know, so that
they weren't.
No. I mean, he's a lawyer and she works for a tech firm, you know, so it was awesome because they instantly became fans, you know, because of the venue and being able to go to the NFR. So it's always awesome to me to see so many different people from different backgrounds show up in Vegas.
I mean, the other thing that was interesting too, just because I like, you know, like when I do boxing, I ask a million questions. When I do concerts, I ask a million questions. Like I just like learning new things. You know, it's obviously a different sport that I would say the vast majority of people haven't seen, right?
Right.
Yes.
Like, you know, it exists, but you haven't gone, right? And then when you go there, it's an entire, you know, I mean, obviously the music, like I said, is sort of the same as most arenas, but you know, there's different sponsors, there's different activities, like it's different, right? And you kind of like, oh, what's that? Like, so, you know, like all the tractor brands, all the like harvesting brand, like all this stuff was like all new to me. So it's kind of cool. It was kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see, you know?
Right.
And to be frank, it was very entertaining.
The kind of the cool thing too about that of Las Vegas being the city of entertainment is you have, like you said, the majority of your customers that are coming to your resort probably aren't rodeo fans. You know, we're trying to cap into the rodeo fans coming to your resort. But the neat thing is the crossover on that for the people that are going there that have no idea what's going on. And, you know, oh, what is this? What's going on in town? And it, you know, I mean, so you kind of have a chance for the people that are going there unsuspectfully becoming rodeo fans because they went to your resort and they're like, oh, shoot, what is this? What's going on? Awesome. And then all the cowboys, you know, that's still a thing. That's what's crazy. People are like, that's still a thing. It's like, yeah. Do you like hamburgers? Well, that's cowboys are still a thing.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, the biggest rodeos in Canada. You know what I mean? Like, like rodeos, and then there's obviously a big fan. I know there's a big crowd base of Hispanic cowboys, right? So, you know, it's larger than what I think people stereotypically think of it as, right? And country music is extremely popular right now. You know, I have a friend in New York who lives in Long Island and produces shows out there, and he's like, you know, when we have a country act out here, he's comparing it to the past. He's like, it's the same crowd that would have come to Pearl Jam when they were, you know, when Pearl Jam was new.
Right.
Wow.
It's you know, it's just that now it's not, I'm not saying they only listen to country, but that's the crowd base, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not saying that everybody that listens to Luke Combs wants to go to the rodeo, but the country lifestyle is sort of expanding.
Right.
You know, at least and people are accepting it and into it. bit. And so like, I don't know. And as far as the event is concerned, I mean, it's one of the largest citywides in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and it's been here for years, and it's going to be here for years. They extended the deal, right? So, you know, it's sort of like just like Mexican Independence Day. That's another holiday I didn't know much about until I'm here, right? You know, it's these things that I think are historic to Las Vegas, and we would be remiss if we didn't embrace it. You know,
Right.
I'm not trying to say we couldn't succeed without it, but why wouldn't we try to be a part of it?
Right.
Seems sort of silly not to, you know?
Well, it's kind of like the history too of, I mean, I'm really like the old school Vegas vibe, you know, and you look at Benny Binion, and for him coming to Vegas from the Texas deal and kind of the foundation that he had for, you know, I mean, for poker tournaments and how that has grown to where it's like, you know, I mean, that was Cowboys. And I mean, he wanted his first poker tournament to be like 50 people. And you look at how many people are in the poker tournaments now to where that built on that. So I think Las Vegas, its roots really are incredibly deep in the Western way of life. And then back in 84, 8 or whatever it was when they went to from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas, to where that was a huge impact because everybody, you know, I mean, now you have professional sports, you have, you know, football's a huge deal and all the other professional sports that you have on their Las Vegas nights. But during Las Vegas, for up until that time, it was like, until the Cowboys came into town in December, like there was nothing going on. So everybody was like, oh no, you know, they catered to it, but it's grown so much to where it's like, hey, let's not forget, you know, the folks that helped kind of build this town.
Correct. And let's not forget too, that we are in the Southwest, and, you know, the cowboy lifestyle is, I mean, is alive and well here, you know?
Right.
So, you know, again, we would be remiss if we didn't embrace it. And I think that, you know, I enjoyed my time seeing it. I like all forms of music, including country and whatever. And I think it's a great opportunity with our proximity to the Cowboy Christmas to sort of be a part of it, you know?
Well, I think the other thing that's special too, Fedor, is more people want to take a vacation when they're on vacation. I know that sounds redundant, but you know, whenever you're going somewhere special, I don't think everybody, the days of somebody going to watch the same concert 5 nights in a row, they're just not there. So if you can stay at a luxury resort where, hey, one night I go to the rodeo, then the next night we go to a nice steakhouse. You know, if you can find a location that kind of suits you and gives you multiple options of things to do, then it helps make it a more enjoyable experience. And it sounds like you guys have curated that.
Completely agree with you. Plus, again, I think people like to try new things. So we're new, and we're close to where the action is, especially for this event. So, you know, why not come by and check us out? How do you guys feel about how the support in town in general? Do you feel like it's strong, or again, I think you were saying that now with all the sports teams, don't forget that we were the people that were here and so on and so forth. Do you feel like you're getting the support in town, or?
I think once you land in the airport and you get in a cab or an Uber, they set the tone, because you talk to cab drivers and they're like, we are so happy to see cowboy hats again. and I firmly believe that same heartbeat runs through the town during that same time. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still more to do in Vegas than you've ever been able to do, but I still think that it is a very, very large driver, and in my opinion, it changes the vibe of the town for those 10 days.
Totally.
Well, and I think to add to that, as a whole, you see 26 to 30 properties activate in over 100 concerts, whether that is, you know, Thomas Rhett in your guys' Blue Theater or in the Nowhere Lounge. Like, there's so many opportunities for an individual to do something, like Andy was saying, that this town really truly becomes that cowboy town and gives everyone an opportunity to do something Western, even if it's not related to the rodeo at all.
Totally agree.
Well, and you look at too, to where, you know, before the viewing parties really became a major deal, is most people were trying to get tickets to go to the rodeo. Now, and Brylan, you could probably contest this if need be, but now it seems like there's so many people that want to go to Vegas and they'll watch the rodeo at a viewing party and they'll never go to the Thomas and Mack. You know what I mean? Like, there's a limited set of tickets, and somebody say, instead of X amount of dollars for tickets, like we'll just go watch the rodeo here. And well, you know, we saw everything that happened. We're here at the property. The property has everything we need. Maybe, you know, and I think that is kind of changed it a lot to where the viewing parties have become so big because, and it's more enticing too to people like, oh, well, you can't even see the rodeo. I can stay at home and watch the rodeo, whatever. It's like, dude, go to a viewing party and watch the rodeo. Cause you want to talk, I mean, people giving stuff away, you know, I mean, winning trophy jackets or whatever it is, it's like, it's an incredible experience, whether you're at the rodeo. If you've never been to the rodeo, you got to go to Thomas and Mack. I mean, you talk to any cowboy that's there, it's like, it's just different. You know, you can't put your finger on it necessarily besides the fact that it's like wild, but it is, I think that, like the support there and everything is Vegas still is a cowboy town. And I think that the base is growing, you know, to what you're saying to your buddy over there, back east that puts on the country concerts is like people will, you know, it's like, oh, it's not like, oh, I don't want to see that. It's like, oh, that's cool. And there's an authenticity that comes along with the top cowboys in the world. And look at all the other roping events and, you know, barrel races and bull ridings and bullfightings that goes on in there. So I think that they're, you know, it might not be 250,000 people in one setting, but you look at the amount of people that come to Las Vegas knowing that they're going to get like true, authentic entertainment and some of the best music artists that there is. So, I mean, if that wasn't the case, and it's like, oh, we've got this guy that, you know, he has a dumb looking hat on and he wants to be a country singer. It's like, you're getting some of the best entertainers. So I think that people are going there like, oh, we got to go to Vegas. Like it's still, I think, a tremendous draw.
Oh, absolutely.
I totally agree with you. Cause I mean, the best example I could think of is like, you know, an Olympics, call like an Olympics or a Super Bowl, but it's a tournament. Maybe more like the Olympics because the Olympics is a long period of time. You know, when you go to the Super Bowl, like we just had it here, right?
Right. Yep.
There were definitely more people in town that could fit in the arena, right?
Right.
So people just come and sort of they're excited about being there because that's where the thing is. And there's all these events that happen around it. Same thing with the rodeo.
Right.
You have 2 weeks of it, right? So you kind of like, I think Bill was the one that put it back. He's like, it's a celebration of the cowboy lifestyle, and the whole city basically turns into that. So if you're into the cowboy lifestyle, whether you want to go to the arena or not, you know, you come here and you're going to have fun because there's going to be a lot of like-minded people in town with a lot of events that are curated specifically for you. You know,
you guys realize Fedor just pulled a Step Brothers on us and started asking us the questions.
Absolutely.
We're putting you on.
Well, we have to go back and forth here, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But I just need
this
to make
is an
sure.
Interrogation.
Yeah. Do I need to sign an NDA or what? But
it's like one big family reunion, though.
Yeah.
No, we really appreciate your time, Fedor, and I personally will be checking it out because my wife's not coming this year, but I know when I bring her back, she's going to want to go to the Fountainebleau. So we are really, really excited to see the kind of red carpet you guys are going to roll out when the Cowboys come back to town.
Blue carpet in our case. Kid.
Oh, there you go. See, that's why I have to go to the property. It's not a fountain red, it's a fountain blue.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, again, we really appreciate your time and thank you for doing what you're doing for our industry as well, and look forward to the partnership and for years to come.
Same, and we hope that you all come, and you know we would love to show you a good time here, and we're really looking forward to this year to celebrate the rodeo.
Thank you, Fedor.
Thank you.
Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit nfrexperience.com, and we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.